On a chilly November night in 2017, North Korea launched a rocket so powerful that it soared more than 10 times higher than the International Space Station. That rocket was the Hwasong-15, a machine that changed how the world thought about one country's reach across the globe. It's a story of fire, speed, and the careful math that sends a missile arching through outer space. But don't worry, this isn't a scary story. It's a fascinating look at real-world science and why this big piece of metal still matters today. Let's start with what the Hwasong-15 actually is. It's an intercontinental ballistic missile, or ICBM, built by North Korea. Think of it as a gigantic metal arrow, about 22.5 meters long and weighing around 72,000 kilograms. That is as heavy as a fully loaded space shuttle orbiter. It has 2 stages, which means 2 big sections stacked on top of each other. The first stage uses a powerful engine cluster called the Hypersonic, which burns liquid fuel to lift the missile and push it high into the sky. When the first stage runs out of fuel, it drops away, and the second stage fires its own engine to carry the payload even farther. This missile isn't launched from a fixed silo. It sits on a giant truck with 9 axles called a transporter erector launcher, or tail. The tail can drive it around on roads before raising it up for a surprise launch. The first test happened on November 28, 2017, just before 3 o'clock in the morning from a place called Hwasong instead of flying sideways. The Hwasong-15 was aimed almost straight up in what engineers call a lofted trajectory. It climbed to an astonishing altitude of 4,500 kilometers above the Earth. To understand how high that is, imagine stacking more than 500 Mount Everest on top of each other. It came back down into the Sea of Japan after flying for about 53 minutes. Experts calculated that if fired on a normal arc, it could travel over 13,000 kilometers, reaching anywhere on the mainland United States. Now, to appreciate the Hwasong-15, it helps to know the difference between a ballistic missile and a cruise missile. A ballistic missile, like our Hwasong-15, is like a sprinter who dashes with incredible power and then lets gravity do the rest. Once the engines stop burning, the missile coasts, just like a thrown ball following what scientists call a ballistic trajectory. A cruise missile, on the other hand, is like a tiny pilotless airplane. It stays low and can steer itself using maps and sensors. The Hwasong-15 can reach speeds of over 18,000 kilometers per hour, which is nearly 19 times the speed of sound. But here's a really tricky part. The warhead at the very tip has to plunge back into Earth's atmosphere. This is called re-entry.